Have you ever been through an Ohio storm? If you have, then you know that it can do a lot of damage to your roof. We're going to walk you through step by step on how to assess the damage and then walk you through the process of either getting it repaired or replaced. As a homeowner, you absolutely want to take storm damage seriously. You want to protect your biggest investment from the outside in, and that starts with your roof. Some of the damage you're going to see, of course, if you're caught in a tornado, you might have a tree fall on your house. That's pretty self-explanatory. With wind damage, you're going to either see missing shingles or you're going to see what's called a creased shingle. Last thing you're going to see would be hail damage. The hail is going to be wind driven, so it's going to be coming in at an angle. It's going to skip off your asphalt shingle, and where it does create that divot, it's going to disperse the granulars, which is going to lead to the UV lights from the sun beating into that divot, and over time, that will lead to leaking. So what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to jump up on this roof and I'm going to show you guys exactly what storm damage looks like. Come on. So on this home, we're going to be looking at wind damage. We did identify some wind damage. Three things you're going to look for when a storm comes through and there's high winds. One is going to be missing shingles. That is when a shingle blows off the roof. The second would be a creased shingle. That is where the shingle is going to lose its seal and it's going to be flapping in the wind. It's going to cause a crease right along the top, and that shingle is waiting to blow off your roof. And the third would be any sort of debris, branches that cause an abrasion to the actual shingle. One thing as a homeowner you're probably not aware of is when you go through an Ohio storm and you have wind damage to the roof, it's your responsibility to mitigate any further damage from happening to your roof. That's why you call out a professional like Campo Roofing. We're going to come out, we're going to assess the damage before you contact your insurance. We're also going to make sure that we professionally mitigate any further damage from happening. High winds can absolutely do a number on your roof. That's why it is very, very important that you get it inspected right after the storm by a professional like Campo Roofing. This house actually had hail damage as well, so that's what I'm going to show you next. So this roof also has hail damage. Two things we're going to look at when we're inspecting hail on a roof. Number one is going to be any of the soft metals on the roof. That's going to include any metal box vents, any fans, any metal valleys, a metal ridge vent like we see on this roof, or any gutter helmets, any downspouts or gutters themselves. The other thing we're going to be looking at is the integrity of the shingle. We're going to be looking for divots that are the size or smaller of the actual hail that hit the home. And we're also going to be looking for granular loss and impacted granulars in the shingle. So this right here is a great example of hail damage. As you can see, like I said before, the hail is not going to come down straight down. It's going to be wind driven. So this storm in particular had 40 to 50 mile per hour winds. So the hail came in, skipped against this shingle, and you can see on the impact where the granulars dispersed, but the telltale sign of hail is that some of the granulars are still impacted in the actual divot that it caused. So this right here is a perfect example of what a hail hit would be on the actual gutter guard, which is a part of your soft metals. Sometimes it's hard to discern whether or not it's hail or maybe other debris. A good way to gauge whether or not that's a hail hit is going to be looking at how big the actual hail was that came through the area. If the hail that came through the area was, let's say, 1.25 inches, this is probably about 1 inch. So to me, that would logically make sense that a 1.25 inch piece of hail would make a 1 inch divot on your soft metals. The real reason it's important to look at soft metals is you have to paint the picture that hail was here. And the way you paint the picture that hail was here is by showing, we call it collateral damage. Collateral damage is your soft metals, and the reason that is, No matter how big the hail is going to damage your soft metals before it ever damages your shingle. So if I come out here and there's no collateral damage or damage on your soft metals, I cannot make the argument to your insurance company that it's not wear and tear on your roof and that it is in fact hail damage. So Ohio has now been added to Tornado Alley, so I think it's important that we obviously touch on tornadoes, even though sometimes they're few and far between. As you can see, I have a nice big tree in this backyard. It's very close to this roof, so if for some reason a tornado did come through here, that could be something that could fall on the house, puncture the roof, create a huge issue for the homeowner. So that's something you always want to be aware of. If you have a lot of trees in the yard, if you have maybe a trampoline in the yard, maybe you have a basketball hoop, anything that can be flown by wind and isn't bolted into the ground could be susceptible to damaging your roof and your siding and your gutters during a tornado. So dealing with storm damage can be a real pain. There are some things, if you determine you have storm damage, that you definitely need to know before you reach out to your insurance carrier. Number one, you have to determine whether or not your contractor is experienced dealing with claims. As your contractor, we're going to argue scope of work, repairability of the roof, and we're also going to argue Ohio code to bring you back whole. Another thing you want to determine before contacting your insurance company and filing a claim is you're probably going to want to reach out to your agent. You're going to want to ask what type of policy you have. That is super important. There's two types of policies normally. One, it's going to be RCV, which is recoverable depreciation, or ACV, which is actual cash value. The biggest difference with those two is with an RCV policy, the only thing you're going to come out of pocket is whatever your deductible is. If you have an ACV policy, then you are going to come out of pocket your deductible plus whatever your insurance company depreciates your roof, you're going to come out of pocket for that in the end. The reason that's such a big deal is if your roof is not old or in need of replacement, but you do have storm damage, if it's not causing leaking and it's not damaging the integrity of the home, it might make sense for you to wait till maybe the next storm comes through. Another thing with insurance, and this is probably the biggest thing I run into, is most insurance companies are only going to give you 1 year to file a claim, and that goes back to the date of the storm. So they call that date of loss. So after a storm comes through and you find out your roof is damaged, it's not just affecting your home. Your roof doesn't just protect your home, it protects your family. That's why you call Campo Roofing. We're not just worried about protecting the home, we're worried about protecting your family. We have decades of experience doing this, and we would love nothing more than to earn your trust and to have your family become part of the Campo family.